Hey, and good morning. The sun is shining and you are on lesson 1A. Today we're going to learn Surya Namaskara A, Sun Salutations A. There are two versions, that's what that implies. But today we're going to go through A. So this video, it's broken up. You're going to have a demo. We're going to talk about the postures that comprise Surya Namaskara A. And then after that, we're going to talk about modifications on how to make this specifically for you. You'll notice that even I will have to modify sometimes in the B version or in the B side of the Surya Namaskara practice because of my hip injury. Or some days I'm just feeling tired, lethargic, so I just modify because I can do that, and it's my practice, and I do what I want. So we're going to get into it and start with the demonstration. All right, let's get into our demo here, okay? Start with your Ujjayi breath. We're in Samastitihi, feet together, legs strong, arms by your side. We're going to coordinate the breath and the movement, okay? So on the inhale, we're going to bring our arms up, palms together. Exhale, forward fold, hands to the mat. Inhale, hands press into the mat. Exhale, step back, lower to low push-up. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Take a small step in. And we're going to be here for 5 breaths, okay? Inhale. Exhale, 1. Inhale. Exhale, 2. Inhale. Exhale, 3. Inhale. Exhale, 4. Inhale. Exhale, 5. Inhale, walk back up to the front of the mat, head up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to stand up, arms up, palms together. Exhale, Samastitihi. So let's talk shop. Surya Namaskara A is typically done 5 times. You do this in order to build strength. You do this in order to, sort of waken the body up after, presumably you're doing this in the morning, but you can be doing this at night too, so that's not a thing. But, if you're doing this in the morning, it helps to get the energy up. It helps to stretch out the legs, stretch out the shoulders, the arms. And it's a good way to start out the practice because it gets you going, okay? I've had a lot of people in my classes say, I've never started out so energetically, or they won't say it in those terms, but they will say, typically in another class, you might start off seated, laying down, or going a little bit slower, but this really gets your heart pumping. So that is the first difference that you're going to encounter. And as you can see, there's a lot of components to it, so we're going to break those down. Typically, a sun salutation of the A version takes about a minute, and if you're doing 5 of them, it takes 5 minutes. So already you've built a 5-minute practice, along with some meditation at the end. You can do this every day. And what I forgot to mention is that Ashtanga Yoga is typically practiced 6 days a week. I mean, take that with a grain of salt. Do what you can. Show up for yourself. I highly encourage, at least 3 days a week at the very minimum in order to be able to see some progress. But I do recommend 6 days a week, minus moon days, and we'll talk about that in another video, okay? So let's break down the components of Surya Namaskara A. Hey everyone, so we're gonna actually break down Surya Namaskara, and I'm just gonna take you through the poses more specifically, trying to give you a chance to really hone in on what muscles that you want to engage and where you want to look, and really break down all the pieces of Surya Namaskara A. That way you can practice safely. That way you kind of get the sense of what it is that you're trying to achieve when you're doing this. So let's get started here. All right, so as you see, I'm sort of just starting out with my breath. My feet are together, my toes are together, my heels are together, my quads, they're engaged, my shoulders here are rolled back, my nose and my chin are parallel to the floor. My stomach is pulled in, but not so much that I'm not breathing. So you'll see my chest moving, and I'm ready to go. Okay, so that's Samastitihi. Samastitihi is basically the call to Tadasana. And Tadasana is mountain pose where you just come and it's a call to attention. Now, for those of you who aren't so flexible, you can see I'm sort of close to the front of my mat here, but you can start in the middle of the mat because as you'll see in some of the modifications, you'll be able to walk your hands forward rather than walking your feet back. So we'll continue with this one, but just understand that where you position yourself on your mat is also important. Okay, so Samastitihi, we're ready. Chest up, chin up, hands by your side, strong arms. We're ready to keep going. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, on the inhale, raise our arms above our head. Now, raising our arms above our head, I know you can't see it here, but again, this is real life. That's my practice. This is my home. Okay, that's my little elephant right there. My palms are together. And I tilt my head back and I'm looking up towards my fingers. Now, again, you're looking up towards your fingers, but your gaze is soft. So you're not really focusing on your thumbs. Now, you want your arms to be straight. And it can be kind of tricky on how to get your arms straight when you bring them above your head. So when you press your hands together, you're trying to press more on the pinky edge side of your hand. So your palms are together, flat together, but you're pressing on the pinky edge side. And that's going to swing your elbows forward a little bit. That way that your back opens up. And you'll see there's a little bit of a back bend, but not something that's exaggerated where even my arms they're going straight up. They're not pointing back. They're not creating this arc, okay? So we've got that going for us. Okay, so we bring our arms above our head, but at the same time, you can't really tell. My feet are pressing into the mat. So we're creating this two directions of energy. So the one, I'm lifting up and my feet are pressing down. So my stomach is like being pulled in two different directions. My core is being pulled in two different directions. So on the inhale, you bring the arms up. And you guessed it, on the exhale, we're going to take a dive all the way down to the mat. Okay, this is my first forward fold of the day. So my knees are bent. Yay! If you need to bend your knees more, bend them. That's okay. There's no rule that you have to have straight legs and perfect legs. We're going to bend our legs so that we get our palms on the floor. You see my palms are flat on the floor. And you're also going to notice that my head right here, I'll wait till that kind of doesn't want to disappear now, but so that my head is falling forward. So I just relax my head. My head is not stiff. My shoulders are not stiff. All that energy that I had when I was going up is now gone. All of that energy is gone, okay? So, yes. One thing that's important here is that the ball of the foot is pressing into the mat, okay? When you press the ball of the foot into the mat, you're gonna create a stability that is really important, and it's gonna protect your hamstrings, okay? So forward folding, pressing into the mat with the ball of your foot, very important. Okay, so what did we do? We went inhale with the arms up, And we went exhale to come down. That's the first two. Okay, so the next step is inhale the head up. Now, this one is one of those times where you want to move slower because the action is very short, okay? So you're only going from this forward fold to inhale, head up. You see there's not a lot of action happening. You're gonna come back. So come back, inhale, head up. All right, so if your hands are able to get on the mat, and we'll talk about what you need to do in the modifications if you can't reach the mat, okay? You're gonna press the heel of your hand into the mat, and that's gonna push your chest up, and you're gonna look up, okay? And you're facing towards the front of the room. Very good. All right, so you're pressing into the mat, you're sort of stretching your back out. Now, that's on the inhale. On the exhale, you're going to walk back into plank pose. And so, plank pose. You'll notice that there is a straight line going from my shoulder all the way down to my heels. Straight line, okay? You don't want to dip the hips down first. You don't want the shoulders to come down first. You want there to be a straight line. Watch. Boom. All right. Come back. So exhale, take a step back, lower down. All right. So now it looks like I'm on the floor, but I am not. I'm maybe a millimeter off the floor. This position is called chaturanga, and this comes on the exhale. Now, this position right here, you want to be careful with your wrists and your hands. And man, this is getting annoying right here, isn't it? So you want to make sure that your hands are pointed forward, if not a little bit out, because your elbows, they should be tucked in. They shouldn't flare out. When they flare out, you're going to place a lot of strain on the outer wrist, and that can cause injury. You want to tuck your elbows in, and you want to make sure that your chin is looking up. Okay, so these two things in conjunction with one another are going to open up the chest. Okay, a lot of times what people will do is they'll come down to a low push-up position and their shoulders are scrunched in and they're shrugging their shoulders, their elbows are out, and they're like, this isn't comfortable. Of course not. They find no space. There is no way to breathe. There is no way to find ease in this pose. Okay. Another thing that I'm doing is I am engaging my stomach really, really strong. This area right here. Okay? I'm trying to create like if I were a board, okay? So you'll see if I bring it back how I come down simultaneously with my entire body. Okay? The other thing that you'll see, or maybe that you won't see because that thing is in the way, is that my thighs are also engaged. So everything from my stomach to my bandas to my thighs to my calf muscles, they are engaged, okay? Every piece of that board is strong and stiff. All right, so that's the exhale. Now, inhale to come up to upward facing dog. And here we go. Now, one of the things that is very important is, so you see my little skull tattoo there, that my shoulders are not shrugging up. Okay, they are pulled away from my ear. My hands are pressing into the mat, but also the tops of my feet are pressing into the mat. Like I've got some thick thighs, so the bottom of my thighs, they graze the mat, but they are engaged and they are being lifted up. The other thing is that my stomach is also very much engaged. Like this is something that you're not gonna let go throughout this entire sun salutation, okay? So the stomach's engaged, I'm pressing into the mat, my shoulders are lifted, they are not close to my ears. I'm pressing into the tops of my feet so that my legs are off of the mat as much as they can be with these thighs. And then that's on the inhale. And then we're going to exhale, lift the hips up and to come back. And we're in downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, we're here for 5 breaths. But let's talk about downward facing dog for a second, okay? Downward facing dog is one of those poses that can easily be very challenging. But then after maybe about like a month, this is your resting pose. You get into this pose and you're like, finally, I'm here. But until then, it's very, very challenging. So let's try to figure out how we can bring all of this together, okay? So hands, they're flat on the mat. They're pointing forward. They are not on my fingers. It's the palm that's driving in there. If I could bend my fingers backwards, they would be able to lift up just a little bit. So I'm pressing into the palms of my hands, and then I will press my fingers into the mat too. But that's secondary. First, you're pressing into the wrist. Secondary, you're pressing the fingers, okay? So that's the first thing. Then the second point of contact on the floor are the feet. So you'll see my feet are about 4 inches apart. Now, this is a matter of preference, okay? Some people like their feet wider. Some people like their feet more closer together. I happen to have a hip injury, so I tend to keep them closer together when I'm in my resting downward facing dog. You'll see in later poses that my feet will be wider when I'm passing through downward facing dog. But when I'm in my resting downward facing dog, you'll see them. So you want your feet to be parallel. You want your feet to be between 4 and 8 inches wide, depending on what you feel comfortable with. What you don't want are your toes pointed out or your toes pointed in. You want them, the edge of the foot, to be parallel with the edge of the mat, okay? So now, there are some people who will try to stand on the balls of their feet. That is not what you want. You want to drive the heel down to the mat as best you can. And I've been a runner and lifting weights pretty much for a very long time. I have very tight calf muscles. Me getting my heels down, it's like a miracle. Like, it has to be like the end of my practice on a really hot day when all my muscles are already stretched out for a good 90 minutes where I can get my heels down to the ground. But so don't be discouraged if your heels are really high off the mat. That's okay. The point is to start driving them down towards the mat. All right, now we're driving them down towards the mat. Now, sometimes you can create a rounding in the back here, okay? But you see that my back is flat. That is, all right, there are a few things that you want to do to make sure that your back remains flat, okay? The first of which is, if you find that your shoulders, again, are hiked up to your neck, if you find that they are crushing into the sides of your neck, you're going to roll the shoulders away from your neck. That's first of all. Second of all, it is important that if you do not have the flexibility for this, you can bend your knees. That'll bring you up to the tops or to the balls of your feet, but you won't be rounding in the back anymore, okay? Now, over time, you're going to continue to try to drive the heel down, but maintain this flat back while you are driving the heels down. And if your back is rounding and you're scrunching up your shoulders, it's time to bend the knees, okay? The third thing that you want to do is, you guessed it, engage your bandhas. Your lower belly and the internal lock. Those are the two things that you want to tap into while you're here. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning and look at this. Okay, so we're We're going to inhale to bring the arms up. Any moment now, Andy. Let's get it together. So we'll inhale to come up. There we go. Exhale to come down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, walk back. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And we're going to take a step in. One thing I forgot to mention is that in Ashtanga Yoga, the downward facing dog is shorter than what you would find in regular vinyasa classes. Most of the time, and this is just my experience, is when you do a vinyasa class, like if you were to come to this position and then come straight to downward facing dog, that is what your downward facing dog would be. You would not walk in. So you see how far apart my feet are? Like it's on this brown line over here and my hands are over here. But then when I'm doing my downward facing dog, I walk in, so it's like about 6 inches. So it's a lot shorter than what a vinyasa class downward facing dog is, which creates that arch in the back. So that's why I say, if you need to bend your knees, totally bend your knees. Don't even worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. Okay? So I'm going to stay here for 5 breaths, and you'll notice that my chin is tucked down in my chest. My eyes are trained into my belly button, and I'm breathing. I'm relaxing into this pose. My weight is going into the floor back here. That way I'm not dumping my weight into my shoulders. And boom, inhale to come forward. Now, you're going to notice something here. When I start to come forward, boom, right there. I'm rounding my back. I'm curling forward, okay? This knee, I'm bringing into my chest now. And I take a step forward, okay? So I need to round my back. Boom. So that I can bring my leg forward. I need to create space. If I do not round my back there, my foot is not going to get as far forward as I need it to get so that I can walk forward. Now, again, if you don't have the flexibility, don't worry about it. Take a whole bunch of baby steps. Walk forward as far as you can and then walk your hands back. We'll see that in another part of this video, but I just want to tell you, like, if you can't do this, don't worry about it. There's a way to finagle this, okay? So we're gonna inhale, walk forward, right into my head lifting up, and then exhale to forward fold down like we did. Inhale, stand up, arms up, palms together, and exhale back to Samastitihi, chest up, chin up, arms by your side, and still breathing. Okay? So, what did we learn today? A lot. But I think one of the things that is really important is that your stomach is engaged throughout all of these poses, okay? There will be times when you release it and times when you engage it, but know this, that for most of these actions, you're holding in those bandhas because you're going to be able to tap into more flexibility and more strength to be able to walk back and forth, okay? So this is a structure for Surya Namaskara A. We're going to get into talking about the modifications in the next segment of this video. Now that we have gone through all the mechanics of Surya Namaskara A, let's talk modifications. Modifications don't necessarily just mean make it easier. It means make it more accessible. And that can also mean make it more challenging. If you noticed in my video, I did things like step back. I'm going to show you techniques to jump back, things of that nature to make it more challenging if, taking a step back was too simple. So don't think of modifications as something that is a bad thing. It's something that This practice is supposed to mold itself around you, not you around the practice. And I really want to punctuate that from the get-go, okay? So, all right, modifications. All right, this version is for those who can't bear any weight on their hands. So, we're going to start out in the middle of our mat. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, forward fold, hands to the mat. We're going to inhale, place our hands up and look up, and exhale, forward fold again. We're going to inhale, flex the back again, and exhale, forward fold. We're going to cross our arms above our head, and we're just going to hang here for 5 breaths. This way, we didn't have to step back. We don't have to come to a low push-up. We don't have to bear any weight on our hands, wrists, shoulders, elbow issues. Yep. Hands come down. Inhale the head up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand up, arms up, look up. Exhale, samastitihi. This next version is for those who are not so flexible. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees. Inhale, hands on the shins, look up. Exhale, walk the hands forward, then walk the feet back. Come to your knees, low push up. Extend the feet out, press up into cobra. And exhale, hips back, curl the toes under, and lift up to downward facing dog. And here you can come to a child's pose. You can come down to your knees if you find that this is too much, even on your shoulders. We're still only going to be here for 5 breaths. So around breath number 4, you're going to come back up to downward facing dog. And that way you can walk forward to where you can, then walk your hands back. Hands on the shins, look up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up, stand up, look up. Exhale, samastitihi. And finally, our most energetic. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, head up, look up. Exhale, jump back. Inhale, chest up. And exhale, downward facing dog. So you'll notice that the jump back lands right into your chaturanga, your low push-up. So that's why I'm saying this is the most energetic version, because this one sort of requires a little bit of coordination, okay? So we're in downward facing dog for 5 breaths. Inhale, curl the spine, jump forward, head up, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up, stand up. Exhale, samastitihi. So now that we've gone through modifications, we've gone through the practice, we've gone through, how to make it more for you and your style. Now it's time to jump into the B, lesson 1B, which is going to be the practice. Now, as I mentioned before earlier in this video, it is 5 Surya Namaskara A's. So we'll take it from 5 Surya Namaskara A's and then just sit down, meditate, and take Shavasana. So, total, it's going to be a 10-minute practice. You're really going to enjoy it. You're really going to wake up every single day and feel invigorated by this practice. Also, when you start, you're typically doing 3, okay? You're typically doing 3 Surya because they are really hard. Not a lot of people can do push-ups, and your arms may be on fire. Take a breath. Take a break, do what you need to do in order to get through all 5. But if you find that after 3 or after 2, you're just like, oh my God, my arms are on fire, I can't do this anymore. Take a break. That's fine. Do Shavasana at that point, and that's your practice, okay? But over time, we're going to build up to doing 5. And so that is going to be it. As I mentioned, do what you need to do for your body. Modify if you have to, okay? Alright, yogis, love you. See you in the next video.